Good morning. We're glad to have you joining us for the Fountains Studio Celebration and hope that wherever and whenever you're watching, you sense the spirit of love and encouragement with which it's been prepared. If you'd like more information about the Fountains or an audio archive of the studio's message segments, you can visit us online at weputlovefirst.org and click on Sermons, or you could follow us on the Podomatic podcast service to get audio of Sunday's message sent right to your phone, tablet, or other device. And of course, you can always find video archives of each week's celebration on our YouTube and Facebook pages. However you find yourself connecting to us, thanks for being a part of the Fountains online community, where as followers of Jesus, wherever we are, we strive to put love first.
Join me as we get in the Spirit. May our spirits be opened to the mystery of the gospel.
And our minds to new understandings.
May we be quick to hear.
As doers of the word.
And not hearers only.
We have good news to share with a needy world.
In the midst of every blessing, may my heart be filled with grace. Streams of goodness ever flowing, call for songs of highest praise. May my words be filled with gratitude. May my glad heart humble be as a holder of a blessing. May I share it gratefully. In the midst of every trial, may my heart be filled with grace. Streams of comfort ever flowing, call for songs of highest praise. May I find the strength within me. May I sense it everywhere as I face what must be handled. May I find truth I can share. In the midst of all our living, may our hearts be filled with grace. Streams of goodness ever flowing, call for songs of highest praise. May we seek and find encouragement. May our choices worthy be as we journey on together. May we know integrity.
Let's affirm the Fountain's mission together. As followers of Jesus,
We put love first.
Once again, we're excited to be welcoming Jen Kelsang Tabke, resident teacher at the Kadampa Buddhist Meditation Center in Phoenix, leading a series of 3 in-person meditation classes beginning this Tuesday in our Connection Center. With the theme of happiness from a different source, each class has a suggested donation of $10. If you haven't experienced the guided meditation style of these classes, I hope you'd consider adding this centering practice to your spiritual toolbox. By way of introducing this style of meditation and to give those of you who aren't in Arizona a taste of this practice, we're grateful to Tabke for leading us in our centering time in today's studio.
Welcome to Kadampa Meditation Center, Phoenix. I'd love to take you into our meditation room so you can join us for a meditation. Welcome to you, and very happy to be with you and to guide you in a brief meditation practice. So we can just begin finding ourselves in a comfortable position for this meditation. You can gently close the eyes and allow your body to relax, letting go of any tension held within it. As you breathe out, you can strongly imagine breathing away all worries, any obstacles of body or mind in the aspect of smoke. Just imagining this for a few breaths. Allowing your mind to deeply let go, settling into greater stillness. And as you breathe in, you can strongly imagine and believe you breathe in a powerful, healing, clear light, filling the body and mind with a peaceful feeling. And you can imagine this peaceful light melting away all problems and obstacles. Even imagining this light radiating outwards to reach your loved ones, family, and friends, and even all living beings, bringing them inner peace and healing. Just imagining this happening for a few moments. And we can develop the intention for this peaceful feeling to benefit and influence our words, thoughts, and actions, even as we begin to relax our attention and arise from this meditation now as you feel ready. Okay, thank you.
Where love and caring are, there is God. Where love and caring are, there is God. Where love and caring
We lift up our mothers who have given us life and love.
that we may show them reverence and care.
For mothers who have lost a child to death, that their faith may give them hope.
And their family and friends give them support and consolation.
For women, though without children of their own,
Have nurtured and cared for us like mothers, we give thanks.
for mothers who have been unable to be a source of strength,
Who have not responded to their children or not sustained their families, may grace be known to all.
loving God, as a mother gives life and nourishment to her children, so your Spirit empowers us.
May the woman we've lifted up know grace and peace.
And may we aspire to the maternal love and compassion the Creator shows us.
And in giving our hearts over to Jesus' call of compassion and care, may we choose to love, to serve, and give our lives with the passion a mother shows her child.
We offer this time of quiet, bringing our whole selves in the name of the one who taught his first followers to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Where love and caring are, there is God. Where love and caring are, there is God. Where love and caring are, there is God. Where love and caring are, there is God.
SAWS Southwest is a faith-based nonprofit organization dedicated to providing freedom to low-income permanently disabled individuals by building them wheelchair ramps. We have focused in Arizona and Nevada. We have built 14 ramps just in the Phoenix area and through this organization locally. It's not just men and a group of men working together. We've had high school students come out and assist us in doing the fabrication on site. We've had old men like ourselves. We've had mature women also assisting us out on the job sites. It's open to all to help. What are our needs? Well, consider making a contribution. Consider coming out and helping us build a ramp. Actually, we're going to build a ramp May 20th on the west side of Phoenix for an individual. I know it seems like it might be a little warm. It's all going to be under a covered awning, which is going to help quite a bit. It's a great way to connect with other individuals, and it's a great way to help individuals, and boy, does it make you feel good. If you would like more information regarding assisting us, you can talk to David James, Jim Erickson, Bill Yeager, or myself, and we would love to have a discussion with how you can help in your own way. And as you could see in the video, I'm better at building ramps than I am at making videos. Have a good day.
Every day, the Fountain strives to put love first, both in person and online.
And if you're one of our many regular online viewers, we're grateful for your participation as a digital member.
Every week, you hear about all the many ways you can give electronically to support the online outreach, like using the QR code on the screen, going to give.weputlovefirst.org, or downloading the Vanco mobile app. Then when you're on our secure giving site, be sure to look for the line that says Studio Celebration Donation.
A contribution here lets us know you're out there, that the studio is important to you, and that you want to be a part of supporting this growing digital outreach.
So wherever and whenever you're watching, we're glad you're joining us.
Thanks in advance for supporting the studio financially.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street, but they're not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their needs? A summer's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man show. They follow each other on the wind, you know, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the one in the mirror. I'm asking her to change ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. Na 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 na. I've been a victim of a selfish kind of love. It's time that I realize that there are some with no home, not a nickel to love. Could it be really me, pretending that they're not alone? Oh, we're a deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, and a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, you see, 'cause they got no place to be. That's why I'm starting with me. I'm starting with the one in the mirror. I'm asking her to change ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. I'm starting with the one in the mirror. I'm asking her to change ways, and no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a. I'm starting with the one in the mirror. I'm asking her to change ways. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and then make a change. I'm starting with the one in the mirror. I'm asking her to change Just take a look at yourself and then make the change.
Praise God from whom all grace flows forth. Praise life, all creatures here on earth. Praise light who guides us on our way. Praise love who forms us day by day.
Last week, I reminded you that there are conflicting opinions in the Bible. Far from having one unifying thread of perfect wisdom hidden in its pages, the Bible was intentionally assembled, yes, by committees, with dissenting opinions throughout. Whole books were included with the sole purpose of resisting the message prevalent in other books. Ruth and Jonah are two of those books. Jonah is not just about some poor sot getting belched out on the beach. Jonah offers a clear message to Jews who would selfishly claim that you have to be Jewish for God to love you, and that God's favor extends to all people, even those horrible Assyrians. Ruth is all about shaming racists and xenophobes into welcoming the immigrant and refugee into our midst. So, we introduced James as one of those alternative voices. In James' case, opposing Paul. Mind you, there's a ton of resistance literature against Paul in the New Testament. For every one of the authentic letters of Paul, there's at least one other letter written to try to dial back how radical the original Paul was. James is an example of a letter designed not so much to undo Paul, like Ephesians or Timothy or Colossians, but to clarify one of his primary messages. Paul promoted grace, to the point that some folks thought that faith alone was enough. Just believe. And in the middle of our text this morning is a line you may have heard before. Be doers of the word and not hearers only. Mind you, Paul never said, just believe. But some of his followers evidently took it that way. So the theme of the letter of James is do something with your faith. Transform the world. Don't just sit there. And while it emphasizes a practical expression of Christianity for early Jesus followers, it's also deeply and profoundly Jewish.
Our words of wisdom are from James, chapter 2, verses 14 through 18, and James chapter 1, verses 22 through 25, and verse 27. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm, and eat your fill, and yet you do not supply their bodily needs, what is the good of that?
So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I, by my works, will show you my faith.
But be doers of the word, and not merely hearers who deceive themselves. For if any are hearers of the word and not doers, they are like those who look at themselves in a mirror. For they look at themselves and on going away immediately forget what they were like.
But those who look into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and persevere, not hearers, forget, but doers who act, They will be blessed in their doing. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God, the Father, is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world.
Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church.
Thanks be to God.
On July 2nd, 1982, Larry Walters, a 33-year-old truck driver from California, took the 45 weather balloons he'd bought at the local Army surplus store and filled them with helium. He strapped himself into a lawn chair, to which several friends then tied the balloons, and he took along all the essentials: sandwiches, beer, a camera, a CB radio, and a parachute. He also took a BB gun, figuring he could shoot the balloons one at a time when he was ready to land. Suffice it to say, Walters was caught off guard when the chair shot to an altitude of over 16,000 feet. That's about 3 miles high, smack into the middle of the air traffic approach pattern of Long Beach Municipal Airport. As fighter jets were scrambled, a TWA pilot on approach confirmed a guy in a lawn chair with a gun. Larry stayed airborne for about 45 minutes when he finally managed to shoot enough balloons to start to descend. After getting tangled in power lines and causing a power outage in Long Beach, he managed to climb down safely, where he was cited by the police. Reporters asked him 3 questions. Were you scared? Yes. Would you do it again? No. Why did you do it? Because, he said, you can't just sit there. You can't just sit there. And yet, one of the defining characteristics of many Christians is having been convinced by years of indoctrination that all they have to do is believe. Just say the Jesus prayer and you're all set. Why? Because for a lot of folks, being a Christian is more about cosmic fire insurance than being inspired to transform the world. For James, it's all fine and good to be saved by faith, or however you want to put it. But if you claim to have faith and don't love your neighbor, your faith is dead. James brings it home emphatically. If a brother or sister is ill-clad and in lack of daily food, and one of you says to them, "Go in peace and be warmed and filled," that is, you give them some pious platitude, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is it? And what good are you? Then at the end of the passage today, he offers a clear definition. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to care for orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. Let's look at that more closely. What is the purest expression of religion? To care for orphans and widows in their distress. Can it be any clearer? Now, does James literally mean orphans and widows? Maybe, but if you look through the whole Bible, orphans, widows, and refugees were used as shorthand to talk about all of those who were, as Jesus said, the least of these, those with no power, influence, or voice in our community. So, what is our big bad bit of banned Bible wisdom for today? That expectation that many Christians would rather ignore in favor of just believing real hard? It is to know that the purest expression of religion is to be aware of the existence of, to listen to, and respond with compassion to the needs of those in our culture with no power, influence, or voice. These are core values of both Christianity and Judaism. I'm reminded of the rabbi who took the opportunity to reiterate those values in a pointed Rosh Hashanah sermon back in 2018. You might remember it having caused a bit of a stir. Rabbi Neil Comas Daniels was the childhood rabbi of then White House advisor Stephen Miller. And to put it mildly, the rabbi was mortified by many of the policies of which Miller had been the primary author, including the infamous Muslim ban and the cold-hearted zero-tolerance policy that separated refugee children from their parents at the border. The rabbi starts the sermon out, "Dear Stephen, I was once your rabbi. When you were about 9 or 10 years old, your family belonged to Beth Shear Shalom in Santa Monica. You attended our religious school. The actions that you now encourage make it obvious to me that you didn't get our Jewish message." He goes on to say, "Honestly, Mr. Miller, you've set back the Jewish contribution to making the world spiritually whole through your arbitrary division of these desperate families at our southern border. It's not that we can't reverse what you've done. We can, we are, and we will, along with our sisters and brothers who are Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Sikh, Buddhist, Unitarian, Jain, Native peoples, and many more. We are a coalition of the divinely mandated. We answer to a moral and ethical code that comes from the core of the universe and has many colorful and intricate manifestations. All of them speak one ultimate message of love, cooperation, understanding, and rescue. However, your actions perpetrate a kind of negativity, violence, malice, and brutality that betrays your Judaism and all these spiritualities." Wow. As James says, if the purest expression of religion is caring for the least of these, then there are a lot of fearful, prejudiced Americans who, like Miller, have completely lost the plot, all the while claiming to be people of faith. And for many Christians, grace can become an end in itself. They completely miss the part about how once you're dialed into grace, being a follower of Jesus is about doing what Jesus taught us to do, which in the final analysis includes the very Jewish values of loving kindness and doing justice. Look, what passes for Christianity in the world today is really two different and diametrically opposed religions. One encourages people to ask, what can God do for me? Save me, give me victory, make me prosperous and successful? Or it encourages people to ask, what can I do for God? Using my gifts to serve the less fortunate and change the world for the better. Some people are satisfied with making it all about the hyper self-centered question, am I saved? Am I saved? Which I pointed out last week is a pretty neurotic question. But the Jesus-y question, the question James would ask of us is, are you actively engaged in serving the poor in your midst? Are you actively feeding the hungry? Are you working to be reconciled with those from whom you are alienated? Are you working for peace in a war-crazed world? Are you seeking justice for the oppressed? Are you committed to the needs of the real people in front of you? Or are you propping up obsolete and harmful dogmas? That's what James would ask. That's what James is interested in, being doers of the word and not hearers only. And guess what? It's not easy. For many people, being a Christian is about being an upstanding and respectable member of the community. This is a group of teenage girls screaming obscenities at black students entering their high school in Montgomery, Alabama, back in the 1960s. I'm willing to bet that every one of these young women was an upstanding and respectable Christian, and convinced that their whiteness made them somehow superior. Never mind that the black students they were yelling at were also Christian. One of the great unaddressed cancers eating away at what passes for Christianity today is the notion that following Jesus is about being rewarded for being pure, about being respectable and upstanding, and the insidious indoctrination of privilege. Let me say what I know Jesus would say if he were here today. It's not about being upstanding. It's more about standing up, and standing up for the least of these. Few stories embody the transition from being upstanding to standing up than the life of one of my heroes, Bishop Oscar Romero. The powers that be elevated him to Bishop of El Salvador because he was a quiet, respectable bookworm that the American-backed oligarchs thought they could control. He won't make any trouble, they thought. However, when Romero began to see the plight of the poor of El Salvador, he spoke up. He began to call out the very people who had advocated his appointment as the very source of the problem. The establishment wouldn't stand for it, so they had him executed by assassination. But lo and behold, back in 2018, Pope Francis canonized Bishop Romero as a saint. Why? Because he stood up for the poor and the oppressed, even at the cost of his life. When he saw the way people were being treated, he couldn't help but live out what James said was the purest expression of religion. He was a doer and not a hearer only. Look, right now, the Texas legislature is passing legislation that will require every classroom in every Texas public school to prominently display a copy of the Ten Commandments. Besides flying in the face of the separation of church and state, this is just another example of the most superficial of evangelical Christian pandering. It's like that ridiculous bumper sticker, "Honk if you love Jesus." Fine, but anybody can honk. If James was in the Texas legislature, he would be advocating for posters that said, "If you love Jesus, prove it. Have compassion for the hurting. Speak out for the oppressed." For James, compassion for the weakest and most vulnerable members of society should be the focus of any Christian worth their salt, not performative shows of superficial piety. Do you remember Millard Fuller? He was the founder of Habitat for Humanity. It's a pretty mainstream organization today, and the Fountains has been involved in several habitat builds over the years. But when it got started back in 1942, this profoundly Christian effort was accused of all kinds of radical, un-American activities. What were people to think? Blacks and whites living together, sharing their resources in common in rural Georgia. But Fuller was not deterred. He was a doer. At the heart of his theology of the hammer were the convictions of overcoming economic injustice and bringing an end to racism, and an attitude that would make James proud. Fuller said, I see life as both a gift and a responsibility. My responsibility is to use what God has given me to help people in need. And if Millard Fuller is too highfalutin for you, how about the wisdom of our lawn chair pilot, Larry Walters? You can't just sit there. Incidentally, this is Larry's chair on display at the Smithsonian's Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. Not all of us can be Oscar Romero's, Millard Fuller's, Larry Walters, but all of us have influence in unique ways in the world. All of us can open our hearts to what the Spirit is calling us to do as individuals and as a faith community. We can be proud of the wonderful outpouring of generosity when this or that need arises, but there's something each of us is gifted and called to do. And not be hearers only, if only we let ourselves be open to the Spirit's guidance. Over the years, many of the Fountain's most effective and impactful outreach efforts have been spearheaded by doers, individuals who felt or seen a need and acted on it. Be it our blessing bags for the homeless, the SAWS Ministry, Family Promise, Stephen Ministry, Sierra Service Project, and the list goes on and on. I am so proud that the Fountains fosters a culture that encourages doers. And we're not done. If you've got an outreach or project that you feel called to pursue, let's talk and see how the Fountains can help you make it happen. If you've never heard of the Dunkards, they were a sect of religious Germans who immigrated to Pennsylvania in the 18th century. One day, a man confronted one of these pious Christians and asked him, "Are you saved?" And the Dunkard proceeded to take out a piece of paper and a pencil and began writing. Then he handed it to the man and said, "Here are the names and addresses of my family, my neighbors, and the people I do business with. Ask them if they think I'm saved. I could tell you anything." James says, "Doers is as doers does." So here's to the doers. May we each be one. Be well.
Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in every place you can, at all the times you can, to everyone you can, as long as ever you can. Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in every place you can, at all the times you can, to everyone you can, as long as ever you can. Do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in every place you can, at all the times you can, to everyone you can, as long as ever you can. As long as you can.
Let us offer these words of challenge and blessing to one another as we go. May we be equipped to face the world's challenges.
And strive to be purveyors of compassion wherever we go.
Let us be doers of the word.
And not hearers only.
This and every day.
Amen.